以がいいなとは聞いた。
This row and this column, the calculation in the formula is exactly the same as calculating the dot product of these two vectors, which also shows that one condition has to be fulfilled that is defined because these matrices to have different dimensions. We only have two rows instead I have four rows, but these rows here, the number of columns in the first and the number of rows in the second match, which has to be because otherwise I would have here a situation where there is no clear, where I do not have the corresponding A and D value to multiply with each other, so this formula wouldn't work. So we see here that these two dimensions, the second dimension of the first matrix, the number of columns, must match the number of rows of the second matrix, and the condition has to be fulfilled, but the other two conditions can be, the other two dimensions can be different, and they of course influence our results. So what we have here is matrix of MA cross NA multiplied with MD cross ND, so this here must be NA, and the result is then MA cross ND. So this part is what has to be identical, and this part comes out. And what I thought was the easy way to do this on paper is actually writing that way. First, if you write them in like this single style or slow style, bottom left first, up down, right the second one, and you can see, you can just go through them here, you multiply the coefficients pairwise with each other. Multiplication, all these pairs here, and then you sum up the results, and then you get your entry here at exactly that position where it's associated in the final matrix, and that also nicely illustrates again that these two dimensions here have to match. So this has to be this here and this here are then the resulting dimensions of this dimension of the final matrix. So you see here the formula looks a little about this at the beginning, this is the multiplication, and you know how to do the procedure. It is actually quite simple. Because now this liquid multiplication has of course certain properties or certain characteristics. One of them is that it is distributed over addition. So if we have the sum of the matrices and then multiplied with another one, if we have the same result as if multiply the matrix with the individual matrices and then take the sum. We can also associate this with the manner in which order we do the multiplication to multiply several matrices with each other. So for example, if we multiply 3 matrices and we can first multiply A with B and then multiply C, or we can multiply B with C and then multiply A. We can skip the order and it's complicated, so we can just change the order. We can do almost any multiplication where you say, I don't know, sometimes it's the same as sometimes 2, but the matrix A times B is not necessarily the same as the matrix B multiplied with the matrix A, and we can see equals. You can see this with a simple proof. If you want to make a proof of this statement, you just have to, because we say we cannot do this, or we cannot always the case that this happens. It can of course be an individual example, but usually it is not the case, which is we can prove it by just showing one simple case, one simple example where it doesn't work. And as you see, I had a very random matrix is 154, the other is 5, 6, and 8, and now if we multiply it, and we have here 5, we have here 14, so we get this is 19 for the first coefficient. If we do it in reverse order, we have here 5 again, 5 times 1, 6 times 3 is 18, 5 times 18 is 23, so we see already the first coefficient is different, so we don't even have another here, so we've already shown that if we multiply AD, we do not get the same result as if we multiply B with A, so this is our proof. So we I was simple for the lesson. But this is pretty at the end of the proof that it needs this is what has to be shown by them. So it is just for what's here. But now we have matrix multiplication, and now if we look at it, special case, and we find of course the zero matrix is obviously the multiply zero matrix with something else, we will always get as a result the zero matrix because we multiply each coefficient with or we always have product here where there is one coefficient from one matrix from the first matrix involved, and it gives 0, the result will obviously always be 0, and it is actually inverse, of course, multiply zero matrix with the matrix, or multiply matrix with the zero matrix, we always get zero matrix. So this is one example where this switching of the order works, but it doesn't work in LHX as we have shown here. Another example where it works is the identity matrix, and this matrix where we only have one single diagonal, and this is not which is why we call it the identity matrix, because if we multiply matrix with the identity matrix, we always get the original in the matrix that we are multiplying it with, and that is also obvious if you write it down. If you have the matrix here, and for example for one row here, for one column here, to multiply that with one row here, and then you have one here and only zeros at the other position. And of course this means that you only, these are all multiplied with zeros, and only at this position here you have just the value of this matrix, which means that you have an additional copy, so it is 1 times P and A I J, and 0 all the other values. So this is obvious that this is only resulting in the original matrix. But so you see the 0 matrix and the identity matrix obviously have the same characteristic as the 0 and the 1 in the same multiplication. Now there's a special case of a matrix, this is so-called transpose of a matrix, which is created from an original matrix by just mirroring their coefficients as the diagonal. So if we look at the diagonal here, then the transpose matrix is just basically created by swapping the indices. So this is the transpose, and as a position Ji, then we can establish which I J so it's taking this value and exchanging it with that one, this one, towards that one, and then we get our transpose matrix. Now I have an example here, I mean this is so simple, we don't need an example, but the example is just to illustrate that you can see although the dimensions are not the same because of how lattice and polygon looks like those have the same dimensions, but of course we can mirror them, and that also doesn't have to be the case. So if you have from here 2 cross 3 matrix, then the result is of course the 3 cross 4 matrix mirroring, so as the diagonal, but of course here is nothing to mirror, so you can basically move this to this position here, and you don't have anything, so this is why the dimensions also are just swapped. Now again, like all matrices and all special cases, they have certain characteristics, and one characteristic of the matrix, which is the transpose matrix, which is later and also in the proof, is all, let's look at the dimension. It's the left side is defined A multiplied B. So then you transpose from that, the multiplication has to be defined that means the dimensions of A and B have to match. Even for A, the second must be the first dimension of B must be the same. So it must have the same value here. Now, if we, and then the result is, of course, we can take AD. That links us to an A cross ND matrix. Now, for taking transpose, of course, the dimensions change in order. So we have then for AB transpose, we have ND cross NA matrix. Now, for B, if you swap the dimensions here, and then you swap the dimensions here, then you see that this product of the matrices is defined because then B is the first one for the new second value matches the new first value of A transpose, and the result is again MND cross NA, so we have the same dimension. So the dimensions are the same. The question is, of course, what are the dimensions also the same? And so we can see that. Let's first look at the left side of the equation. So we're looking at AD transpose. So first, if we think about how do we calculate the coefficient of matrix, I call it U AD. The new coefficient of the matrix is U star IJ. The new coefficient of IJ is calculated by taking the row of the matrix A, so it's matrix A, this is the matrix B, multiplied with the column of the matrix, column J of the matrix B, and this is then our new coefficient is IJ star. So that is just the definition of the matrix multiplication. Now if we take the transpose of that, what we do is then we take, if we want to have the coefficient C IJ in our matrix, so this is the new matrix C, which is the transpose matrix star, then we just have to look up this value and write it here. Or if you want to calculate it directly, of course, just think about what we do here, instead of if we calculate it directly, instead of calculating this one and looking up, we could also calculate it directly, but then we just have to swap to use the different indices here, because we want to see IJ, and we look up 3 star JI, which is exactly the same here, only write different indexes, which basically means we're multiplying this column, this row, and column now, and this as a row now. But it's pretty cool, of course, that's the definition of it, and then of course you look up this down here, we have to write the indices here, different. Because now if we look at the right side, D transpose, A transpose, so I also introduce some different notation here to illustrate the different cases. So A and B are the coefficients of the original matrices, and I denoted A and B with an index T as top to illustrate the coefficients of the transpose matrices. And then we want to calculate this matrix I call E3 now with the coefficient Bij, that's the standard product of both D transpose in that order. Now, if you write that down, of course what you do is you go through the row of D transpose, because that is your first one here, multiply that with the value in the column of the second one, which is D transpose here. And then you have to answer here. Now if you think about what values are here, let's see why I have written this one here. If we create D transpose from D, this J row with D becomes the column J of D transpose. can now find another matrix that's multiplied with that one will lead to the identity matrix. So we'll see some examples in fact of this later to illustrate this also from a theoretic interpretation, and these perspectives are very important graphics for those who love concepts on just I will not spend much time here now, but relation graphics and the relation graphics also focus on this is a really abstract concept of calculation, but there is a relation graphics that much time talk about here, and the relation becomes like very difficult to the technical force leading to I have this initial time at the beginning. Here we actually put the beginning I have this also like we show the different notation for vectors, for example, these are arrows on both sides, but it also has this column or line representation where the line has this column here, which is one of the use of so you can really decide what the question is, right? If you are having a full text, if you're writing full text, right? Of course, it's a little bit more illustrative and better relation to graphics, but I never used this time. Never used this third one before, although I introduced it at the beginning where we do not have commas here, but instead we have this T as well, and of course, if you I hope there is a relation now, this T stands for transpose, and you can illustrate the value that you can see as vectors as the column, but you can interpret the column of matrices as vectors, and that's n cross 1 matrix, if that is the thing as a vector, and this T is, for example, for scalar multiplication of product, you can an illustration like the matrix multiplication coverage of one coefficient in matrix 1 can be actually the same as just product of vectors, if you write it in that way, and the product can be actually the same as matrix multiplication, or easier for the matrix multiplication than the value. Just one matrix bracket, it's more the notation of it, so matrix calculation is the vector 6 point matrix the vector has like limitation of matrix multiplication, not just write it at the beginning, start with the vector, and then just make matrix multiplication, so it's easier to relate it. So, in another case where this vector multiplication is very important is to multiply a series example where multiply a vector with another vector, so 2n cross n, and 1 cross n matrix with an n cross 1 matrix. That's my example. 1 cross n with an n cross 1. But of course we can also multiply a vector with another matrix as long as the dimension here is the same as the dimension of the vector, and the result is then this new vector here. Of course, if the number of rows here is different than the number of rows here, then of course this has a different number of rows. But if we use the square matrix here, if we have the same dimension, if there's the same number of rows and the same number of columns, then the result is again a vector with the dimension d with the same dimension as here. And this is exactly the case that is very important graphics, and we'll use a lot in the next lecture, because if you can use vectors to make transform and vectors to create new vectors from existing ones. But let's talk about the next first bit. We're focusing more on the important aspect of existing graphics, which is the equation systems. Linear equation system is defined as well, a system or a selection of linear equations. Linear equation is an equation where we have the variables are also the power of 1, which is most often the case in what we do because we're dealing with linear algebra here. Of course, in algebra already suggested that most things in linear stuff, but we have here an example like the square quadratic equation, it's always called quadratic equations. But most of the linear equation system we have here linear variables x1 to xn, and multiply them with constant values, and then we get a result, which is then of course depending on the values of the variables here. And the question is then what kind of values to fulfill for x1 to xn fulfill one line, and also all the others. So what is the solution of the linear equation system would be then the values for x1 to xn that fulfill all equations here. And this is now the relation matrix is of course that you can write this in matrix equation form, which is then just the vector dx multiplied with the matrix of coefficients here. So we basically take all the constant values and the variables and write them separately, and if you work on the matrix multiplication, you find that you will see that. see all the options are there. Now, interesting thing is, of course, what happens in this case is the S here, another plane to it. Then, of course, this plane, that was the one I was looking for, this plane can really intersect directly in this original line here. So that is a new take. It can also intersect, this can also happen, of course. We already have that, there's two parallel cases, of course, this can also happen. It can also happen that it is, of course, S is one of them, but it can also happen that there are zero solutions by intersecting just in a way as the three intersections of the other planes are just lines that are all parallel to each other, and of course we also have the intersection point. And of course it can happen that it intersects with this line, but only in one point, and this is actually probably the most common case, and this is exactly the case that we're interested in when we're solving the equation system, because the result of the equation system has one solution only, and this solution is going to indeed this makes one intersect point. And we can do this with Gaussian elimination. Now see, sorry, time for a break, so we'll do this after the break. Why we are interested in linear equation system is the solution of linear equation system graphic. So let's look into how we get that solution. And one of the approaches is we only have unique solution that is the plane intersect in one point. And one approach to do this is so-called Gaussian elimination, which uses matrix notation of open-ended matrices. Of course, the matrix is only idea of use that makes the approach easier to handle and easier to do. But the matrix itself is a way of representing these linear equations. The way we do this is so-called open-ended matrices, which is basically taking the matrix of the coefficients of the constant values on the left side in association with these variables, it's x and I that we want to find. And then on the right side writing the c values, the values that are they are supposed to be equal to. And and it is then the return. Oops, not going the wrong direction, that's fine. Here we go. So if you compare this with the equation system, you see that it will take all the constant values and write them in a matrix, which is of course the relation to the linear equation system. You have to see this right in that way, the vector matrix equation, and this is just the left matrix of the constant and the right matrix of the constant from the right side. First, the idea of Gaussian elimination now, if you look at this, that we do transformation to this matrix, this open-ended matrix, that do not change the solution, but make it much easier to see the actual solution by just looking at the matrix. And what could that be? What could be a matrix representation of this matrix? The transform representation of this matrix that makes it very easy to look at it. The solution is, of course, the where do I have it here? The identity matrix here. Here it is. The identity matrix, because it is the identity matrix, if all these values here in the lower triangle, and this number here are 0, and we only have 1 here, then of course the solution then will not be d anymore, but it will be like the star, for example. Is of course exactly the x values, because only if we fill in these d star values here for the x, these are all the equations to fulfill. So if we can transform, this here, if we can transform this representation into one that we have the identity matrix on the left side, we can immediately see our solution because those are the d star values, then the transform values for the d on the right side. So this is basically the idea of Gaussian elimination by introducing three operations that we do that to the matrix. They allow us to transform this identity matrix, but they cannot change the overall result. And the first one is just interchanging two rows of the equation system or of the matrix, which could not change the result of our linear equation system, because here there was nothing, the order here doesn't really matter. There was no reason why I wrote it down in order. I can easily swap those two, but the results for the x, y, and z will always be the same. So that doesn't change it, but it makes it easier for us to create, to transform into this representation by the identity matrix on the left side. Multiplying a row with a non-zero constant, so for example saying here, we multiply our here with lambda, if you cancel our number, first multiply this here with 2, and gives you 4, 2 minus 30, and 2 times 0 is 0, and also let's change the solution. Here we have this before, we talked about this, so we just have representation of, or the implicit representation of a plane and a line, but it says that sometimes it says minus d or plus d at the end, but this is just because we can multiply it, an equation equals 0, we can multiply with the constant value, we don't change the result, because the right side is always 0 times the constant value is always 0, and the left side should change the constant value, so changing each one of them, so here if we change each one that is the variable in the same amount, so if we double this here, and we also double this here, then of course the x, y, and z that create the solution of it are the same, because we're also doubling this value here. So this allows change the overall solution too. And the last one is a little bit not as obvious probably, but if you think about it, if we take this multiple of one line and add it to another, this here equals 0. If you add, if these x, y, and z are the solutions, then it equals 0. If you add gas to the other line, it will also not change it. So if you think about it more carefully, it's also obvious to see that it doesn't change the overall result. But these three rules do not change the result, but they do not change the applies to it. We are able to create the identity matrix on the left side. And you can see when we look at an example, let's look at an example here. So we have here, this represents the Gaussian equation AXD, and we want to transform it into I x d star, and then of course because this is the identity matrix is d star, this must be our solution. And we do this by applying these previous operations. So let's start from the top and go down from the left to the right. So first we want to have a value 1 here, which we already have here, but these two values, let's look at the make a mistake here, thank you for accidentally taking wrong numbers. I'm going to look at these two, we have mistakes, be careful with that, it's often great to know. So we see these two values don't match with what we want to have here, we want to have zeros here, so we can apply the same thing zeros here by applying the third rule, by adding a scalar multiple of one row to another. So if we multiply, for example, this row here with minus 1, So multiply with minus 1, and then add it to this row here. We have 1 minus 1 is 0. We have here then 2 minus 1 is 1. We have 3 minus 2 is 1. And here we have 26 minus go from the left to the right. So we have these here correct now. This is correct, and this here is correct, but these two do not match. So we can apply the first rule. In this case, we just multiply with minus 1 and add it. Minus 1. So we get here then 0, 0. Here, for example, the 2 minus 3 is minus 1 is 1. So we see here this way we get second one correct, and the same here we see this is minus 2 by 3 here. Once we multiply it with minus 1 half, then we have this here is correct, this here is correct, these two are not correct. So we have to multiply the fly rule 3 here, that's rule 2. And in this case, we multiply this with minus 3, and that is this one is the original 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, 0, 1, that is correct. So these are all our identity matrix, and this must be our solution. And we apply all the rules except for the first one, which is now, for example, and that's something like this. This is 1. D, of course, think about calculation and reverse the matrix, and it's only going to get 1 at the top, by the way, so it's S matrix. And then, of course, remember that when we did this to find the solution, but if any equation which we need, we can point and say that if there is one solution there, please, intersecting values, then the interpretation is, of course, intersecting is, of course, is this one intersecting point, and that is 3 points. But, of course, we have all these other cases as well. We have the case that we have an infinite amount of solutions, we have zero solutions, it's not parallel, but the intersection is parallel, or that an infinite amount of solutions, and it can be a plane or a line. So what happens, in that case, we instead of calculating elimination, only calculate a single intersection point, then calculate an infinite amount of points. But with the use function elimination, we have equations as well. So what happens if we use function elimination, we have planes that are to these two categories on the left, 0 and infinite amount of solution. Well, one thing that can happen with function elimination is that we get a line like this, where we have 0x, 0y, 0z equals the value d that is unequal to 0. No matter how you choose these values here, we'll never be able to fulfill this equation because we'll always have 0 equals something that is unequal to 0, which doesn't work. So this will not work, and that is, of course, the situation that we get. If you apply function elimination, we get an equation like this, in negative 0, then you get this. That's here, like, now we have a common intersection point. So here is the point, here y intersect, like we have here, this last case. Now, it could, of course, also be in one line, where you have something like this, 0 on the left side, and 0 on the right side. You could also have a case that you have 2 lines, 0 on the left side, and 2 lines with 0 on the left and 1 on the right. And this is, of course, then you have a linear equation system with 3 variables and 2 equations. Because this is 0, 0, you can't use the equation to calculate the result, so basically you only have 2 equations. That means you have the same, but you only have 1 equation. Well, and you have those 3 variables. Now that means you cannot calculate all 3, but you can express 1 by 2, and here you can express 1 by 3, 1 by 1 and 1 by 3. So these are exactly when you transform it, will lead to one equation with 2 variables or 3 variables, which is exactly the plane and the line. So these are these 2 cases here. And you will have an exercise in the tutorial, have an exercise in the tutorial that I think these 2 cases, and we'll see how you can represent the line also, which is the question I'm going to do here. Just a comment from the literature, because the literature of course elimination often sometimes also found a different approach to the so-called forward and backwards step, where they do not, like I do it here, start columns right from left to right and then have the 1 to 0 here, but they start with 0 first here, so from top to down they bring all the zeros here, and then they work their way up back and bring all the 1s here and then the 0s here, which again is the same for the thing only that you go from the left to the right, because then like I said, when you go up again, these zeros don't influence these results here, that's already calculated anymore. So these things are the same right here, just basically apply to just make it confusion of the literature, they do it slightly differently than I do here. Alright, then so we know a concept of why we're interested in solving in graphics editing for matrix theory that is very important and interesting that also called determinant. And determinant, at first sounds hard, it is basically a very abstract concept or characteristic or notion of a matrix, but it is useful because it has some characteristics that give us information that we can use in different ways, as we will see later on in the lecture. So the determinant of a matrix defines and assigns volumes that is called a vector, so that sounds quite weird. So if we have a matrix which is a square matrix, so determinants are only defined for square matrices, then we can look at this as 2 column vectors. And then we say the determinant, which is denoted by either S or these 2 bars here instead of matrices, which is my round brackets, are defined as the side volume of the column vectors, which is, after the general case for the side volume is the volume split by the 2 vectors here. The column vector is, of course, a parallelogram. So we have 2 vectors, they are defining this parallelogram, and the determinant is then the volume that is the area here of this parallelogram. And now it says the oriented area or the side volume here, and that means that the determinant is like positive, not positive or negative, and it is positive if you take the 2 vectors in terms of clockwise orientation, and it is positive if you go in that direction, that it is negative. So the determinant is this space here. Determinant and I didn't know what that is before I took over from later. But it's just a speedy generalization of a parallelogram, and what is the volume that you have three vectors in three states that are not linear independent. So it's just a generalization. Obviously, of course, determinants are also defined by, I mentioned 4 plus 4, 5 plus matrices, which then we'll have geometric representation of it, but they are only defined with square matrices, so be careful with that. And like I said, they are very useful in linear equations and transformation, as we will see in the next lecture. The first one will see already today, because they give us a better way to solve, for example, linear equation systems. But to solve these, we first need to calculate the determinant, of course. And what we do is we solve on this question, which looks very confusing at first because there are a lot of terminology, but if you look at how it is done, it's actually a pretty just step-by-step approach to do it, similar to solving the linear equation system with Gaussian. So the expression I just read here, and you'll see that it's very confusing at first. If the determinant of the matrix is the sum of the product of the elements in any row or column of the matrix with their cofactors, and the cofactor term is defined as Aij in an n matrix, which from the determinant of an n minus 1 matrix A dash that is obtained by removing the ith row in the jth column and multiplying it with minus 1 to the power of the sum of the ACs. So, that's very confusing well stuff, but if you do it very complete example, you will see that this is actually very simple. So take a look at my notes, that'll make a mistake here, confuse you even more. So if you look at, for example, 4 plus 4 matrix, and now we need these cofactors to calculate the determinant, and let's see how these cofactors are defined. The cofactor of an entry Aij, so we take Aij, in this case, we have an example for Aij is 1, 3. The cofactor is the determinant of the n minus 1 matrix A dash. So you see that this is the recursion where we go to calculate the cofactor of the determinant by calculating the determinant of the matrix with one dimension lower. Then if we apply this to this matrix until we have a dimension of 1 plus 1, in which case the determinant of the matrix is the value that we have in the matrix. And we create this matrix by removing the ith row and the jth column. So in this case we have I equals 1 and j equals 3. So we remove for I1, we remove this line, the first row, and the third column, and then we use the rest to create this reduced matrix here. So you see this is just a matrix with these two lines crossed out. So the determinant of the matrix I call it A dash, so let's write here A dash. The determinant of this matrix, so you see here we calculate the determinant denoted by this straight line by removing the h row and j column and multiply it with minus 1 to the power of the sum of the ACs, which in that case I plus j is 1 plus 3, so it's an even number, which means this here is plus 1, which means, that's why it's not written here, I have to write it by hand, because, so it's illustrating that we do that. And then, that is a cofactor, and then we calculate the determinant by taking the sum of the product of the elements of any row and column with their cofactors. So we see we take a row, for example the first one, take all the coefficients from the first row, multiply it with their cofactors, so for example for this coefficient we have this cofactor here, and then we sum them up. And now it says here, elements of any row or column, so we can choose any random row or column here in our calculation. Of course, if we have here a row, that comes in very handy if we have a row here with a lot of zeros. So for example, if the first row would be, the coefficient would be 0, 0, 1, 2, then we would not need to calculate these cofactors here, but we just need to calculate these two because this will be 0 anyhow. So this is why it's kind of nice that we can really take any row or column. In this case, that's just choosing the first one. If we choose, for example, the second one, we do not need to calculate this cofactor, but we will just calculate the cofactor A and 3, that's just the same. So you see this is just a mechanical way to do this. So let's just look at another example to illustrate really how simple it is. We take any row or column, here we have 0, so we calculate this one here, and then we take these values here and multiply them, so we take the coefficients and multiply them with the cofactor